Hello everybody, my name is Brenda Molina and today I'll be presenting for my Business 200 class at Borough of Manhattan Community College. I will be first talking about two important managerial figures today, which are Peter Drucker and Henry Mintzberg. I will be first talking about Peter Drucker as he was relatively known for his work in the practical development in businesses and organizations. Peter Drucker was known as the founder of modern management. He was also an author, an educator, and an entrepreneur. Peter Drucker was born on November 19th of 1909 in Vienna, Austria. Throughout Peter Drucker's youth, it was filled with political and economic events. Peter Drucker also witnessed World War I. During 1937, Peter Drucker moved to the United States, where in 1939 he began teaching as a professor in New York City. Today, Peter Drucker is known as the man who invented management, as well as being able to inspire many leaders throughout his teachings. Peter Drucker wrote 39 books in his lifetime, such as The Practice of Management and The Effective Executive. In Peter Drucker's 1954 book, The Practice of Management, he introduces a topic called MBO. MBO states for Management by Objectives. Management by Objectives is usually an interaction with a specific manager to its employer. Management by objective is a process because of the objectives of the organization that are decided between the management and employees. This is because the employee needs to understand and know what is expected of them and how they can grow. This can help the management and employee by attaining their personal goals and, on top of that, being able to set a target for what the organization needs. Management by objectives is important because it's an agreement between the management and the employee that's based on their performance and what their evaluation will be looking at. Management by objectives is important as well because it requires all different levels of management to be able to understand their own goals and they're responsible for their own work areas. There are 5 steps in the management by objective process. The first one consists of setting organizational objectives. This is because you want to understand what goals needs to be met and how you can meet them. The second one is translating these objectives into goals. This is because you want to know what goals you need to reach. The third one is being able to monitor, and the fourth, evaluate the performance. Once you evaluate the performance, you'll be able to reward the performance if it's good or bad. In management by objectives, we have a term called SMART. We use the term SMART in management by objectives because we want our goals to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Management by objective is crucial because this involves a goal that's set for the organization and can help management and employees know what type of goals that they need to assess in order to improve and enhance performance. As Peter Drucker leaves us behind with his MBO theory, we also have the 4 C's of influence that he also leaves us behind, that is for leaders. He considers the 4 C's of diamonds as competency, character, compassion, and community. Peter Drucker describes how a leader must be competent because they must be able to deliver a positive influence. The second thing is a leader must have a character. They must be able to view the values and the principles of the organization. Third, a leader basically has to have connections because they need to have a diverse connection of networks that they will be able to communicate and build relationship with. Lastly, the leader has to have compassion because he has to build the culture in the organization as well as view the importance of what's going on in the organization. As you can see here from Peter Drucker's life work, his life was mostly developed as wanting to create a healthy and functioning society for other people that want to be managers and leaders. Peter Drucker describes that he wanted things to be taught and managed by making people a part of the process and engaging them in learning. Peter Drucker describes how it's our job to make these students learn and enable them to use this knowledge in their own work and in their own organizations. Peter Drucker was described by many of his colleagues as a person that was ethical, as well as if you were to have a question and he were to answer it, he would describe you in many different ways, many different scenarios, and give you a long, brief explanation to your question. People like Bob Buford was inspired by Peter Drucker, as well as both of them writing a book together called Halftime. Another one of Peter Drucker's colleagues, named Zachary First, he is the director of Drucker Institute. He describes Peter as not caring about management, but he's rather passionate about humanity and society. Peter Drucker owns a school today that is named after him called the Drucker Institute. Bob Buford is the founding chairman and Zachary First is the senior managing director. They described 3 words that Peter Drucker has in their institute, which is yesterday, today, and Monday. Those 3 words being yesterday is about the history and roots of Peter Drucker. Today is about the relevant information of businesses and organizations, as well as tackling challenges and opportunities. Monday is focusing on the results and actions. As Peter Drucker inspired many people around the world, as well as leaders and different people from the public and private sector, Peter Drucker is basically an amazing person because he invented management, as well as being able to understand what we needed to develop and create an organization where we understand how to make us better managers. Peter Drucker also has a school to his name called the Drucker Institute. Sadly and unfortunate, Peter Drucker died on November 11th of 2005. While he may not be with us any longer, his legacy and his work continues to live on and inspire many other people across the world. I will now be talking about another important major figure of management, and his name is Henry Mintzberg. Henry Mintzberg was born in 1939 in Canada. Henry Mintzberg was also known as a Canadian academic who teaches in business and in management at McGill University. Henry Mintzberg was an author on business and wrote about 17 books. Henry Mintzberg was getting a lot of attention on his books, but the reason why was because of what he was stating on his books, which was managers always get interrupted and it's an action-oriented thing. Another reason why Henry Mintzberg's book was gaining a lot of attention was because of his thoughts on management. He described it as not what everybody thought it was, which was planning, controlling, things like that, and he considered it as a fundamental practice instead. Henry Mintzberg also stated the troubles in management education as well as management development. He stated that people learn in groups and then later on try to convert to learning or working by themselves again. This can be a problem for the organization or people that are working in the changing organization because they are still unwillingly trying to change in an organization that is trying to change for the better. Henry Mintzberg talks about driving change in an organization. How do we do that? Well, the first thing he says is development. We have to be able to develop and make development stimulating for managers. And then the second way is to change that problem in the organization. Henry Mintzberg also gives us the 5 P's of strategy. These 5 P's are plan, ploy, pattern, position, and perspective. In Henry Mintzberg's 5 P's of strategies, they conclude to plan, which is being able to take a course of action, ploy, which is being able to outsmart your opponents, position, which is connecting with different organizations, pattern, which is what works and what doesn't work, and lastly is perspective, which is influencing cultures and organizational strategies. The 5 P's of strategy can help you understand and analyze what different outcomes you can have and the strategy you want to develop for the organization or whatever situation you have. And with the 5 P's of strategy, this can help you out because you can help out with planning on what you need, ploy, which is like being able to undermine and outsmart the other opponents and competitors, being able to have a connection with different organizations, and creating a culture which is very good because that's basically what's the organization itself. I will also like to talk about Henry Mintzberg's managerial roles. So, Henry Mintzberg has 10 management roles that are split up into 3 categories. What are those categories, you might ask? Well, those 3 categories consist of interpersonal roles, informational roles, and decisional roles. Now, we just stated that there are 10 managerial roles in those 3 different categories. Well, those 10 management roles are figurehead, liaison, leader, disseminator, monitor, spokesperson, entrepreneur, resource allocator, negotiator, and disturbance handler. As you can see here, those are a lot of management roles, but luckily for us, Mintzberg has separated those 10 management roles with 3 different categories, like we just said. It is the interpersonal, informational, and decisional roles. For informational roles, those are with monitor, disseminator, and spokesperson. With interpersonal roles, those are with figurehead, liaison, and leader. Lastly, for decisional roles, those are for the disseminators, entrepreneurs, uh, negotiators, resource allocators, and so on. As we went over Henry Mintzberg's managerial roles, we have to understand that these managerial roles are important because they basically help us understand the different activities that a manager needs to do, as well as how these managers will perform these activities and provide success for every time they do these activities. Mintzberg also provides us with his organizational structure model. These are the operating core, middle line, strategic apex, technostructure, and support staff. Down below in the model, the operating core consists of workers that are producing the services and production to customers and clientels. This is such as teachers, nurses, dentists, and so on. Mintzberg's model also has the middle line. So, the middle line is basically managers who supervise, they also coordinate control, and provide resources for their workers. This can be principals, supervisors, and so on. In Mintzberg's model, we also have the strategic apex. The strategic apex can be found located at the top of his model. So, the strategic apex is senior managers that track developments and determine strategies. This concludes to people like superintendents in universities, corporations, and so on. On the left side of Mintzberg's model holds technostructure. So, technostructure is specialists, analysts, and technicians that standardize, measure, and inspect outputs and procedures. These are people that are accountants, government agencies, and flight agencies as well. On the right side of Mintzberg's model holds the support staff. The support staff is basically people that support workers in the organization. And these conclude to people like nurses, secretaries, custodians, and more. As we can see in Henry Mintzberg's model, I described and explained the different sections of his model. Henry Mintzberg has derived 5 structural configurations in his model, which is simple structure, machine bureaucracy, professional bureaucracy, divisionalized form, and adhorocracy. We will first talk about simple structures. So, what is simple structures? Simple structures is relatively with new businesses because they require the usage of the strategic apex and operators. This is like a mom and pop shop because they are able to control and coordinate what the employees are doing in their shop. This can be good and bad as some will be focusing on other issues in the shop and not focusing on the other important things that they need to be focusing on. I will now be getting into machine bureaucracy. So, machine bureaucracy is a company like, for say, McDonald's. They hold machine bureaucracy because they use the strategic apex to make big decisions. Managers make big decisions because they are required to have the standardized procedures that McDonald's has set for them, and they have to follow these rules on their day-to-day operation. We will now be getting into the topic of professional bureaucracy. So, professional bureaucracy is, we can say, an example, Harvard University. They are a professional bureaucracy because they hold many standard educational professors in that university, but they also have few managerial levels in the professional bureaucracy as they don't require the strategic apex because professors, they are able to teach freely and however they want to with their material. I will now be talking about divisionalized form. So, divisionalized form is a divisionalized organization that consists of many different businesses in their organization. One example that we can set out for divisionalized form is a company called Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson is a relatively known brand company because they offer many products that fall on the pharmaceutical, medical, and consumer products. Things that we see in the corner counters like Tylenol, makeup products, band-aids, and much more. In Henry Mintzberg's 1979 book, The Structuring of Organization, he leaves us with a quote saying, "Divisionalized enterprises become unwieldy unless goals are measured and reliable information systems are in place." As we mentioned previously, the divisionalized form is a divisional organization that has many different products in their company. Overall, divisional structure offers the economy a scale of resource and response. Not only that, but they also are able to control the economic risks as well. I would like to now talk about heterocracy. So, heterocracy is basically an innovative organization that is characterized by little big structure. This is because the work is often done with groups and with professionals as well. And for the heterocracy to be an innovative organization, they must be able to adapt to change and they must be able to be having measures to achieve the desired results that they want. So, this may be a lot of information to retain, but let's summarize real quick. To summarize everything, a simple structure is basically the boss is in charge. In a machine bureaucracy, it usually possesses the technostructure and the strategic apex. For the professional bureaucracies are between the administrators and the professionals. And the heterocracy is a vary that are many roles in shaping the structural patterns. Today, Peter Drucker and Henry Mintzberg's work continue to live on with inspiring different leaders across the public and private sectors, as well as managers that want to have a better experience on managing. I feel very honored today because I am able to talk about two important figures in the management world, that is, Peter Drucker and Henry Mintzberg, to my Business 200 class at Borough of Manhattan Community College. I've taken this course because it is important to know how to become a manager as well as becoming an active listener and a team player. It is important to know where you are needed, especially with the examples that Peter Drucker and Henry Mintzberg has provided me. This can help me and you as they describe different strategies and different management roles that can help us become better managers. So, to recap everything that we described in this video, we first started off with Peter Drucker. We talked about the work of Peter Drucker and how his work has inspired many leaders throughout the public and private sectors. Same with management as well. We also talked about how Peter Drucker has left us with the 4 C's of diamonds that he considers these values very important. Those 4 C's being character, compassion, community, and competency. Then we talked about Henry Mintzberg. We talked about the model that Henry Mintzberg has provided us, as well as the 10 management roles that were split up into 3 categories, which is interpersonal, informational, and decisional roles. Those 10 categories being figurehead, leader, liaison, monitor, disseminator, spokesperson, entrepreneur, disturbance handler, resource allocator, and negotiator. I would like to say thank you for everybody that's watching my video as they took the time for me to be able to present about Peter Drucker and Henry Mintzberg. I would like to now share some inspirational quotes from both of these important figureheads in the management world. As you can see here, there are many different inspirational quotes from both Peter Drucker and Henry Mintzberg. I feel like both leaders, Peter Drucker and Henry Mintzberg, has provided me a way of becoming a successful manager because both of them describe different ways on how to become a successful manager. They describe the four C's of diamonds, which were the competency, character, compassion, and community. They also talk about the 10 different management roles that will help us become effective managers. I believe if we were to do all this, we can become successful managers as it requires us to know what we're doing, especially being active listeners and knowing what employee is good and bad at their jobs and how to improve them to make them effective workers. I believe if we use these skills, then we can all become effective managers. I would like to say thank you for everybody that's watching my video. If you need anything, you may like and subscribe or comment in the video to see if you have any questions that I can be able to answer. Again, thank you so much. My name is Brenda Molina, and I am a student at Borough of Manhattan Community College at the class Business 200. Thank you.